I hope you've got your finger ready for a bit of a wag today. Wait till you see the video we have from Alistair Murray for the AAAA. Never before have we shown something so risque here on the Sailing Illustrated. Co-host Julia Vatican, Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club. It's Tuesday afternoon, shortly after 1300 here in San Francisco. Welcome to our show, number 914. I'm your host, Tom Eamon, and we are live once again. We'll be live again on Friday, same time, and then we change our clocks on Sunday to Pacific Daylight Time, the confusing time of the year. We've got Peter Taylor in New York City, Chris Exley in north of Boston, Christopher Gillingham and Jane over in Leamington, England. In the UK, Greg Phillips down on the Gold Coast of Oz, and many others checking in. Lance Burke is doom scrolling here at home in the Bay Area. Cheers from Minneapolis in the land of 10,000 frozen lakes. I think it's still frozen up there, isn't it, Blake Middleton? Peter Stevenson is going to watch it mostly in replay today, but it's nice to have him on at the top of the show. It's nice to have all of you with us. Welcome to the show number 914, and here we are at the starting line. Happy Tuesday, and happy Harold Cudmore Day, the famous Irish sailor who now lives on the Isle of Wight, next door to the Royal Yacht Squadron. Why is it Harold Cudmore Day, Julia?
I don't know, but I'm sure there's a good reason.
There is a good reason. Coaching Corner, John Emmett, our international man of mystery, has already moved country. He's back home on the farm in the UK. We just had him in Australia for a couple months. Sail GP, John's going to reflect on his experience at Sail GP, and then we're going to salute Taylor Canfield and his USA team for the win. Finally, Taylor's first win as skipper of that team.
Right.
But can they win when there's some breeze? It was horrifically light down there this weekend.
None at all.
Hardly any wind, but Taylor and co sailed brilliantly, especially in the last race, to take the win from the Brits and your favorite team, Julia, the Spanish.
Yeah.
Alistair, as I mentioned, has got an AAAA. He's interviewing some rock stars, Australian Olympic stars, and a few of our beloved Fozy. Will you, Julia, be cracking up when you see this video?
I'm sure I will. I know.
I'm going to give a warning so that this is when it changes from PG or from G to R. It's not X-rated, but it's probably R-rated. Dylan Fletcher has been named the main helm. I'm not quite sure what that means, but he's been named helm of GB1, the ostensible British challenger for the America's Cup and Challenger record. He has a look around Naples in a brief video that will air. The 99th Bacardi Cup is underway. KR and Clean won race one yesterday, barely. Can they finally win overall? Paul's never won that regatta, and we'll tell you more about where it all stands as they are underway for the 99th time for the Bacardi Cup, which is lately in Miami. Preview of the J.J. Giltonen. It starts on Friday, the World Championship for the 18-footers. We've got a practice race on Friday and then in earnest on Saturday. We have a live report, Julia, live to tape, from Dolly DeVola, one of the commentators. It's nice to have Dolly on, telling us about the plan for the broadcast, because a lot of us will be watching that fabulous racing in Sydney Harbor. And then the last leg featuring another Fozy, yet another Fozy. Lily Zhu is sailing and is kind of the star at the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club, and in the media work that's been done in the last couple of days. She's been widely interviewed, and it's cool. It's good for her. It's good for the sport. It's good for us. It's good for China and Hong Kong. And, of course, this day in history.
Oh, yes.
Tango, we got a special one about a sailor. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and, of course, our fantastic Fozy. Julia, what are we celebrating today besides Harold Cudmore?
Looks like bourbon to me.
Close, but no cigar. It's actually something you drink in March.
Irish whiskey.
Well done, Julia. This is, believe it or not, International Irish Whiskey Day, savoring that smooth amber-hued spirit with a rich heritage, evoking the warmth of tradition and the charm of Irish Cultura, culture.
Oh, yes.
Now, why is it on the 3rd of March? Well, the numeral 3 has always been, I didn't know this, of special import in Ireland for a variety of reasons. The symbol of Ireland, the shamrock, has...
3 leaves.
Indeed. The Irish flag contains...
3 colors.
Green, white, and orange, of course, as do a few other national flags. And there are 3 types of Irish whiskey, single malt, single grain, and the uniquely Irish single pot still. In keeping with the lucky number 3, Irish whiskey is also unique in that by tradition, it is triple distilled. Plus, this spirit must be matured for 3 years in order to be considered whiskey, adding to the fortuitous nature of the number 3. And so the 3rd of March, or 3-3, became the obvious choice of date for our annual Irish Whiskey Day. And of course, with Irish whiskey, we make one of your favorite concoctions, Julia.
Irish coffee.
I've made it once or twice, but you prefer on St. Patrick's Day to go someplace else.
Yes.
And maybe we have to do that again this month. This is the month of March, and this is coming up on St. Paddy's Day on the 17th. Irish coffee.
Yes.
Is a hot cocktail made with hot coffee, Irish whiskey, and sugar. Lots of sugar.
No, not lots of sugar.
I watched the guy make them. Lots of sugar, topped with a layer of lightly whipped cream that is floated on top to make it hot coffee. Is sweetened with brown sugar, mixed with Irish whiskey, and then topped with ice cream.
Not ice cream.
Which is poured over...
Whipped cream.
Well, with cream, thank you.
Whipped.
I'm glad to see you're watching. Which is poured over the back of a spoon to create a distinct layer. The drink is traditionally served in a heat-proof glass and is meant to be sipped through not ice cream, through the cream. Julia, what's that?
The Buena Vista Cafe.
Just around the corner from us here. We're in the Marina District, and that's over in technical, I guess, in North Beach down at the bottom. Is that Hyde Street? Where the cable cars come down there. The Buena Vista, the famously good Buena Vista Cafe, which is San Francisco's preeminent Irish bar and is said to be
That it serves more liquor per bar foot
is that right?
than in any other place.
Well, you know a lot of these stats, but it's really apparently the guy was in Ireland and brought not the prescription. That means it's medicine.
Somebody served it to him just as a house special sort of.
And he brought it back from Ireland, and they apparently that was where it became famous, at least here in the USA, at the BV, at the Buena Vista Cafe. Now, this guy, Julie, whom we have met on a number of occasions, is the bartender who served San Francisco 5 million Irish coffees. The guy started in, I think, 52. Paul Nolan, he's 43 years. I think he's since retired. This is an older news story. But this is the guy, Julie, that fixed us our drinks the last time we were there on St. Patrick's Day, 3, 4, 5 years ago now. There is the beloved and supremely funny and superbly gifted after-dinner speaker, among other things, Harold Cudmore. In a video that the Cruising Yacht Club, which has the CYCA has done a series of archival videos with famously cool people. And, I think Peter Shipway, our new Fozy, has done a lot of them. But Cudmore, we used to call him Crudmore. He didn't like that. Some other people, when he was...
I can't imagine why.
He at Long Beach Yacht Club at the Congressional Cup. So Harold is a gifted sailor as well as a speaker. Glittering sailing successes include the 5 World Championships, 12 International Match Racing Championships, an Admiral's Cup win in '89, and he has won the Sydney Hobart in '91. Harold's entertaining presentation, he's an after-dinner speaker. I think that's his main focus these days, in fact, or a speaker at conferences and so on leadership and winning strategies, weaving the glamour personalities and disasters that produce such a rich tapestry within this sport. And back in the day when the Wednesday night dinner, I think it was at Congressional Cup, and all the skippers were expected to get up, are still these days,
right,
and have something to say. And there is nobody better that I've ever heard after dinner at the Congressional Cup or otherwise than Harold. He was the coach too for Bill Koch's team in '92.
Oh, was he? I didn't know
Didn't
that.
get a lot of credit, but I think he had a lot to do with Bill Koch's team's win at the America's Cup, San Diego, 1992. Errol Cudmore. So we honor him today, too, because of the Irish Whiskey Day. I'm not that I've ever seen Harold drink anything other than wine, but maybe he's had an Irish whiskey. Julia, it's also National Quote Day.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite quote?
I don't really.
Well, we have one at the end of the show that's a favorite. We'll reuse it again today. National Quote Day. Claire Harrington sent this along and said, I can't think of a better way to mark National Quote Day than with this gem by the legendary yachtsman. And do you know who this legendary yachtsman is?
Oh.
Anybody in the chat recognize the gentleman? A knight of the realm? Sir Francis Chichester. Died in 72.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first person. He was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II for becoming the first person to sail single-handed around the world by the Clipper route, meaning going from west to east, and the fastest circumnavigator in 9 months, 1 day overall back in the day. He set the record, of course, and that was stood for a long time, 66, 67. Just to confirm, there is the Clipper route. You can see leaving England, going down, and the key was to going down into the furious 40s and 50s. They figured out that route was quicker by quite a bit to get to the Far East and to Australia and New Zealand. And that was what he did famously.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a quote after we show you the Clipper route here. Sir Francis said, apropos today, an Irish Whiskey Day,
Yes.
any damn fool can navigate the world sober. It takes a really good sailor to do it drunk.
Okay.
That's courtesy of Commodore Harrington, the New York Yacht Club Commodore, of course, who is a super Fozy, and I think that was very apropos, very appropriate for today, Julia.
Yes, I did.
Speaking of celebrations, there is yet another Wind Check magazine
Oh, look.
adorned on the cover with a photo from our super Fozy, Rick Bannerow, who has scored his 38th cover this month, March, of that famously good magazine in the Northeast, Wind Check. That means he's had 20 covers out of the last 23. Rick Bannerow, who was on the show not too long ago,
He was.
with a superb photo essay for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get him on again to do some more photos, as promised. Okay, Taylor Canfield and his team won. We'll get into that in a minute, but John Emmett was there, ended up at Sail GP after his Australian sojourns, and John files this report from down on the farm. He's already home in the UK. He's done some coaching yesterday and today. By the way, spoiler alert, Coach Rogers down at San Diego Yacht Club says that Paul Cayard also won race 2 at the Bacardi Cup.
He did.
So he won yesterday, and apparently he has won today as well.
Oh, gosh. Great.
So that is great news. Congratulations. We'll tell you some more about the Bacardi Cup in a sec after we have John's report.
Mm-hmm.
John's report.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Well, I'm back at Imberhorn Farm, and mixed feelings because it's good to be home, but I think I'm going to really miss Australia. And I don't think I felt quite like this last year, so feeling very much at home. And thank you to all the Aussies for making me feel just so welcome. Well, Sail GP is something we've talked about a lot recently, and I think the final race just shows how important boat speed is, because to a certain extent, the race was decided at the first mark, and it was decided by boat speed. So hats off to the USA team. I think they sailed a near honest interviews. The Spanish boat were a little bit late. The English boat were a little bit early. And the American boat got it spot on. Or perhaps I should have said the Great British boat, but that sounds a little hard rolling off the tongue. Back here at Imberhorn Farm, as you can see, in fact, you can probably hear the planes from Gatwick taking off in the distance. But I really appreciated the honesty of the sailors when it came to interviews. And of course, I have a few thoughts of my own. I can't actually speak for all of the competitors, but I think for me, the quality of racing is always more important than the quantity. And I think for fair racing, you need a minimum race length. And in the future, I would like to see races that are over 5 minutes long. We had one race which was less than 5 minutes, very few manoeuvres, and therefore very little opportunity for people with poor start to overtake. Now, those teams that had poor starts, I think they put their hands up and they accepted that was their responsibility. But I do think we need a minimum quality of racing. And then the second point, again, I have very, very mixed feelings about, is basically pumping. So Rule 42 is a bit of a strange one. It applies all the time to Ilkas, some of the time to your 470s and your fins, and none of the time to your IQ foils, kites, etc. And now, in the effort to get light wind races completed in Sail GP, we now have this board pumping, which is effectively putting the boards up and putting the boards down and rowing the boat forward. And of course, they put in software, so they do the maximum 3 a minute every minute. I guess the problem is if you've already done your 3 and then you actually want to put in a tackle jibe and you need to move the foil, you're probably not allowed. So it's a bit of a strange one, but I think it's very important throughout the sport to look at a minimum quality of racing, whether that's the quality of the wind on the course, the length of the race, etc., etc. But of course, it's very difficult because we want to see racing, and I think Sail GP did a good job in incredibly difficult conditions. And I think all we can do at the moment is cross our fingers to have really good racing in Rio de Janeiro, and next season more boats, split fleets, and probably in a way more racing, because you can really increase the turnaround of races when one fleet is already to go, but it's going to become an even harder job. But personally, I'm really thankful for the Sail GP showcasing some of our very best sailors. In fact, I know, crikey, well over half the fleet from the Olympic days. But drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. And in the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, have fun, and I will try and see you on the show.
John Emmett, with his usual superb report. Just a reminder that he has been, for a year, he got us going. We've all been pushing for getting the parasailing back into the Paralympics. And of course, that would be Brisbane 2032. If we can pull that off, whether as a demonstration event or as a regular Paralympic event. The Aussies are leading the way. World Sailing they are said to be doing a good job on this, and we need the help of everybody, anybody who's got any influence with your national authorities, with the IPC, the International Paralympic Committee, and so on. We really want to keep pushing this along.
Or you know, Paralympic sailors who deserve that kind of exposure.
Exactly. I think our sport deserves the exposure because it's a good sport for para-athletes.
Absolutely.
Let's go parasailing for Brisbane. Blake is saying maybe the A Cup will finally replace the sailors with coders who just program Connecticut's during the race that are barely legal. John Emmett Sailing. Get to the front of the fleet with his regular report, Tuesdays and Fridays for Sailing Illustrated. Julie, a lot of people were back on that. In fact, an interesting comment from Andrew Pindar about Gypsy Moth 4, which was Sir Francis Chichester's boat that he sailed around the world. Simon Oberholzer, whom I don't know, don't recognize the name, but he sounds, what, Dutch? Is the current owner of Gypsy Moth 4, which participated at the Heart of Sail Amsterdam with that fabulous big event that they have. When is that? Like in October, November? Sail Amsterdam. Simon is launching a World Sailing Day, not to be confused, I suppose, with World Sailing.
Right.
A World Sailing Day on May 28th, 2027, so not this year, next year, 60 years after Sir Francis brought her home. That is Gypsy Moth 4. Mark set bots were often faster than the F-50s, Lance was saying. The robotic marks were faster than the F-50s down in Sydney last weekend. Any other comments here we should be glomming onto, Julia?
Oh, that was the one that I got.
Of course, the next 2 days after Sail GP, Dolly DeVola reports they had a lot of breeze. Yeah, we never have conditions like this. How many regattas have we gone to?
Almost everyone.
And everybody, we never have conditions like this. And of course they do. It's just they're not out sailing every day when they get to a regatta and they have to take whatever conditions they have.
Which is part of the sport, I think.
Clark Chapin says Sail GP used to adhere to the 2/3 of the SI motto, sailing fast and mostly safe. As pros, they were willing to sacrifice have fun for the paycheck. Nowadays, they seem to be slipping away from sail safe, and certainly this past weekend, they weren't sailing fast, as Clark Julia points out.
Yes.
Okay, speaking of, let's go do our report on Sail GP, the wrap-up report from the racing on there, Saturday and Sunday down there. It was actually Friday night and Saturday night late here. And beautiful photos, and they raced, we're not quite sure. I've talked to a number of folks down there, and if you want to opine in the comments, the so-called twilight racing, it didn't start racing until 5:30 local, which was 10:30 our time the night before. Is that right? Yeah. 10:30 was, so it was 5:30 local, and by the time they did their hour-and-a-half television window, it was 7 o'clock, and it's getting fairly late in the summer, and I think we looked the other day, and somebody looked it up and said that 7:30 was sundown, so they're pushing up against some, and they're certainly in the golden hour of sunlight, and while it looked nice, it's also late in the day, and there was no wind both days, and, they could have had more wind, but because if they'd had their normal sea breeze, but they didn't. And that's, there's some boats foiling, but there was, a lot of displacement racing. That Shark Island in the foreground where the spectators were. And by all accounts, whether you listen to, I won't name names, but I've been talking I was talking all weekend in the Super Fozzy chat and otherwise. Had a long talk with one of our Super Fozzy yesterday who was there. And they all agree when I said, in the chat the other day, I said, it looks to me like there are many fewer power boats than there were in the past. You can see here it's pretty sparse out there.
Right.
And it's hard to tell the number of people on Shark Island, but a couple of our Fozzy were on Shark Island for the weekend and confirmed that maybe the crowd was half what it has been in the past, and it was tough to see sitting there unless you had a straight-on view of the finish line, but which, as you can see in the foreground here, there's the finish line is basically right there, and this is not a finish of the race, obviously, some other leg, or they're going back to the base, or who knows what they're doing. But the point was that by all accounts, they had many fewer people, and they were charging a lot of money for the seats on Shark Island, and they were charging a huge amount of money to have a flag, to be a flagged vessel on the water where you could watch the racing up close and personal. And even if you had one of these, and the flags with a big boat was up to $5,000.
Wow.
But even if you had one of these flags, you were still so far away from the racing, they were all watching it on TV. So I don't know, Russell's got to do some work on all that, and he's a clever boy, and he will. He'll sort that out sooner or later. But the good news was, at least for the home team here in the States, they finally won a regatta. They haven't won one as a team since season 4. So the U.S. Sail GP team has won the KPMG Sydney Sail Grand Prix, sailing to victory ahead of Emirates GBR, who were second, and Los Gallos, your team, Julia, the Spanish team, in third. It marks the team's first event win in Cadiz in season 4 in Canfield as skipper's first ever win in Sail GP, a moment he called, quote, an incredible feeling, unquote. We have a good interview of him here in a minute.
Okay.
The Americans were the form team on a light, tricky championship Sunday with consistent performances 3-1-6 in the final qualifying fleet races of the weekend, as crew struggled in the disturbed air with foiling conditions limited at the very bottom of the wind range, if that. The Americans managed for the most part to stay out of the pack. They did indeed, and Taylor's just seems to do better when they are displacing. In light air at the beginning of the season last year or the end of the season last year, they had a couple. He seems to do well in the light, and I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's his relative lack of foiling experience in other classes. Tom Slingsby disappointed, and let me back that up. Tommy Slingsby was a bit disappointing. The hometown hero, of course, did not make it into the final three, and here is a video recapping day one's 4 races.
Day one of the KPMG Sydney Sail Grand Prix was no ordinary race day for the world-class athletes.
This is a tactician's game out here today. Very, very delicate on the foils, very, very delicate with the wings, maximize what you can get from the breeze, but then you've got to be tactically sharp.
Rockwell Racing launched off the line in race 1, but were hunted down by the home team, Bond's Flying Ruse.
Yeah, that was pretty silky smooth, wasn't it, right through there? The Bond's Flying Ruse are down the road here, they're gone.
It was a similar story in race 2. This time, Switzerland owned the mark.
Big lead for the Swiss.
Los Gaios' tactical call at gate 3 was the right call as they chased Switzerland.
Brilliant execution by the Spanish.
The United States tried their luck on the inside at the finish, but Sebastian Snyder's team held on.
Massive result for the Swiss team.
Race 3 saw Switzerland and the United States get locked out by the aggressive Red Bull Italy.
Massive tight incident at the top of the line.
Los Gaios sailed through the carnage to take a huge lead at Mark 1, and it was only Artemis that challenged them.
Spain are going to be looking pretty good on this leaderboard.
But by the finish, Artemis had to fight off Red Bull Italy.
Look at the top of the wing. First boat to 30 will be the first boat foiling. Looks like Artemis have managed to execute that well. They're up and foiling. Red Bull Italy are up and foiling, but right of way still with Artemis. And the Swedish team should be able to bring it home for a second place. And that's going to get them back in the game.
Emirates GBR had their time in the limelight at the start of race 4. But it was a bad maneuver that ended their chances of a victory. And Tom Slingsby was right there to take the lead. The Bond's Flying Ruse stayed on the foils all the way to the finish. It is Los Gaios that are on top with 32 points. The Bond's Flying Ruse are in second. And Nathan Outeridge and the new squad, Artemis, currently sit in third place.
They finally get around mentioning Los Gaios.
Well, yeah, they didn't have quite as good a day. Well, they were okay on the first day too. So that's the day one. These are good videos. These are good summary videos that they produce.
They are.
And with their television budget, they should. We'll go back and talk about some of the stuff that was good, bad, or otherwise. But I'm sorry, the audio, sound, and I hear so many people say the same thing. The sound, the audio, is just so off-putting, to put it politely.
Scratchy.
Well, it's scratchy. They've got the radio stuff like it's, NASA, like Houston talking to the spaceship or something, to the moon landing guys. That running constantly in the background. I think some of that's a tape loop. I think they have a tape loop playing sound to reinforce the sound off the boats of the wind through the rigging. And if they go across the finish line, you hear reinforced sound of the crowd cheering. There's some cheers, no doubt, and they've got microphones for ambient sound, no doubt, in the audience. But the whole thing starts to feel plasticky, fake, not real. And I wish the hell, and that's before we even talk about Stevie Morrison, who Magnus the Magnificent said something highly complimentary about Stevie in one of his posts here in the last 3 days. And I wrote back to him and said, Magnus, you got to be kidding me. He's a good friend of mine. He's good. And I said, well, you got to coach him. He's got to stop talking so much and so fast. Crutonic. And, if I were the only one saying that, I'd be worried, but I'm not. Almost everybody is saying the same thing. They talk over each other.
They do. It's hard with all the accents to understand it.
And then, for this kind of thing, they've got music going, but okay, that's normal for these kinds of replays. Here's another shot. They found some wind. I think that's on a practice day. I don't even think that's on a race day when they found some breeze and had the boats all up on their foils, but it was quite light, as you all know. And here is the recap of day 2.
The KPMG Sydney Sail Grand Prix was a story of two halves. Foiling on day 1
This is a tactician's game out here today.
and light, intense racing on day 2.
It's so tense in this light breeze.
After 23 events since their last win, the United States Sail GP team showcased their light air skills when it mattered the most.
Huge result for the US Sail GP team.
Their route to the event final, though, wasn't quite so straightforward. They ended the day mid-pack in 6th on day 1, 10 points away from the on-form Los Gallos.
Brilliant execution by the Spanish.
The Botín-Florian duo locked in their event final spot place early as the most consistent team across the weekend.
Spain are going to be looking pretty good on this leaderboard.
The race to the final came down between the United States, Bond's Flying Ruse, and Emirates GBR for the last 2 spots. After a consistent day 1,
Nice work, guys.
2 6th places on day 2 had the Aussies with it all to do in race 7.
Want to turn for Spain here?
It's another penalty for the Bonds Flying Ruse.
With Bond's Flying Ruse out of contention, Los Gallos, United States, and Emirates GBR duked it out for the Sydney title.
Oh, it's brilliant from Emirates GBR. Absolutely on the nose there.
As they approach mark number 1, here comes Taylor Canfield on the right-hand side, trying to close down Emirates GBR, who will have the inside line, and they'll grab the whole shot.
Oh, Emirates have tactical control. Can they cling on inside?
Taylor Canfield and team lined up the first bottom gate to perfection.
Once you've got the speed, you've got your own wind. That apparent wind keeps going, just milk it. US have got to go wide, wide, wide.
Emirates GBR's extra maneuver to the other side of the course gave the United States their chance.
Yeah, boy. Muy bien, Anna.
Nice job, squad. Nobody can ever say again that you can't win in this league. Nice job, guys.
Now, after 3 events, it is still Emirates GBR on top with 28 points, 3 points clear of the Bond's Flying Ruse of 25, and then the US Sail GP team, they sit in 3rd. Big pickup for them.
Yeah, as John Emmett is saying, he was there, of course, and doing, as a lot of you have said, he was doing great interviews. And I'm going to play one here in a minute, one of the many that he did with sailors in the mixed zone, the media zone. Ed Worley really enjoyed John's interviews at Sail GP, Dogzilla Monster, a.k.a. Stingray up in Seattle. Thanks for all those interviews you posted from Sail GP. Chris Exley is, I think, is absolutely spot on here. The commentators don't take a pause to listen to the boat comms, which would enhance the broadcast significantly. I don't know how real time the boat comms are, if they're really all that helpful, Chris. I just think they need to, I keep saying our sport is more golf than it is Formula One in terms of what we're watching. And the commentary needs to be more measured like golf or even tennis. But they're not listening to me, obviously, and to a lot of you who are saying the same things. Now, as to the reason why they raced so late in the day, both their Saturday and Sunday, the 5:30 hour, the so-called twilight racing or golden hour, Alistair and others are speculating, maybe they know by now, Jody, others I spoke with down there, that last year they had a big problem with ferry traffic.
Oh, yeah.
In the middle of the races, and apparently by later in the day, the boat traffic in general on Sydney Harbor is reduced, needless to say, probably.
Yeah.
Or I guess that seems obvious. And by racing later in the day, they avoided some of that other traffic. There may have also been a deal between the ferry boats and the harbor master saying, hey, we can't be interrupted in our normal ferry traffic moving people around Sydney Harbor. And you put this sailboat race out here that a few people are watching, and we're moving lots of people around who are trying to get to work, to home, to parties, to whatever they're doing back and forth. And, we can't have this. So I don't know what it was, but there is, commentators just shout, Ted Ryman says. I always watch with the sound muted.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the problem was, but, the light air, you can have light air anywhere, but there were some real problems down there. And a lot of people are suggesting that is the last Sydney Sail GP.
How sad.
How sad is that? Beautiful town, great sailing culture. But a lot of people are saying that's it. for Sail GP in Sydney, especially on the heels of the success in both Auckland with the huge grandstands and spectators. And they apparently don't have a place to put grandstands on Sydney Harbor. They got these people seated in wedding chairs, white, those white folding chairs on Shark Island.
Right.
And apparently it was hard as hell to see through the people, and unless you were in the VIP row down front. So, not only on the heels of Auckland, but also on the heels of Perth, that event was stupendous. There's a word I haven't used in a while.
Yes, it's a good one.
Stupendous, Julia.
Good.
So, regardless, there's Magnus Wheatley. Saint Stevie, he calls him. Saint Stevie is awesome. It is such a dull product that it needs his energy. You talk about damning with faint praise, Magnus. Oh, man. That is something else, Magnus. Holy cow. Okay. Well, as we said, the Americans won, and the start of that final race with the three boats, the Elstrom triple racing, as I call it, because he coined that idea. I guess it was an idea of probably a lot of other people did, probably going back to the Phoenicians. But the Brits won the start, and it got to the Mark 1, that speed mark, that jive mark first, but then Taylor and co downhill did a good job, got around the gate, and then just opened from there. It was a pretty boring race, frankly. Magnus is kidding, right? Alistair Murray. I don't know if he's kidding or not, Alistair. Clark Chapin saying, as the kids would say, it's awesome that you're using the word stupendous. Lance Burke, good point. Hans Henken nailed it for the U.S. Can he do it when there's more breeze? Rick Bannerow suggests that the bulk of the blame comes from really poor executive directorship from when they cut away from the action to being horribly late coming out of the pre-produced video vignettes. That's a good point as well, leaving virtually no pre-race. Well, I've got a suggestion for that. I agree. Foiling in general is boring, Jeff Ogle is saying. David James says, why hold Sail GP and events in iconic harbors like Sydney and San Francisco when you can hold them in the Persian Gulf? We'll see if that happens. It makes the right-of-way rules more interesting, I guess. Boring is good. No surprises like corporate America expects. I approve, Clay Empley is saying. Real sailboats, please, Jeff Ogle says. But the shame of that final hour and a half went TV window, and as several of you were saying, Banner and others, they tried to squeeze so much into that hour and a half, 3 fleet races plus the final race, that, as John Emmett said in his report, one of the races was 3 legs long, less than 5 minutes, because they were up against the time, and the wind was light and the racing is slow. Number 2, this final race, they're in such a rush to get the crews into Shark Island, into the spectator area, to get them in front of these high-paying VIP spectators so they can have the champagne spray and the prize giving, that they missed getting the crew, as they did for all the other races, they missed getting the crew on TV at the end of that race. Now Taylor, poor old Taylor, and we've been here, and a lot of you in the chat have been plenty critical of the American team over the last 3 years, but they finally win a race.
Yes.
And then they don't even get a post-race interview. Lisa Darmanin or whoever hops onto the trampoline and does an interview with Zilch. And Richard Gladwell and I and a few others were all watching it together and talking in the chat. And John Emmett was down there saying, they're interviewing them now. He was on Shark Island. Jody was on Shark Island. They're interviewing them now at Shark Island. Well, we said, John, excuse me, they've already gone off the air. They're no longer live, and we're not seeing the interviews. So it was cretonic, to say the least. But having said that, Emirates GBR won the start of that final race, initially controlling the early stages before Canfield's crew seized the lead mid-race, at that bottom gate, with a decisive move into the gate and never looked back. Yeah, they gained a commanding lead. on the final legs, keeping their air clear to the finish. Emirates GBR was second. Spain's Los Gallos, we call that Julia's team. The most consistent team across the event completed the podium in third. They're doing a hell of a good job, Julia.
Yes.
Your team is.
They are, and they are taking the middle road lots of the time.
They're being cautious and conservative. Maybe you're coaching them from afar.
Yes, maybe I am, but it's quite silent. They think they do a really good job, and for some reason, when they get a straight, he's gone through the whole fleet several times, and he just and he's from the back, and he does it on purpose, and he waits for the time, and he goes.
Well, he manages to find a lane, and some clear air, but he's, as we all say, as John has said in his reports, as Magnus says, as Richard Gladwell says when they're reporting on any yacht race, there's no substitute for boat speed.
Yes.
And the Spanish, you look a lot smarter as tactically when you have a lot of boat speed.
Yes, and I think they do.
They do. I think you're right, Julia. Mary Longpree, it was disappointing not to have a good interview of our USA team. Mary Longpree, the fabulous photographer from down in Newport Beach, Balboa Yacht Club, and a longtime friend. Congrats, Taylor and co. Rick Banro says they also missed showing Spain and GBR even finish the race. Again, a cutaway of epic proportion. Well, look, my suggestion, Julia and gang, is this. Yeah, Clay Embley agrees with you. He said, great way to describe it. My suggestion, Julia, is this. They should go back to having 3 races a day, not 4. Do 3 decent races on Saturday. Do 3 decent races on Sunday, 2 fleet races, and then the last 3-boat grand finale. Grand finale.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to jam 4 races, 4 starts, 4... Just calm down. Relax, Russell and the TV guys. Relax. Calm down. And don't try to have Stevie Morrison talking so damn fast that you can't understand what he's saying. Todd Harris is a close second. And then they end up talking, or even though they've got it planned out when Todd's going to say something, are they coming in for the whole shot at the excuse me.
Yeah.
But okay, they got to keep sponsors happy and the Emirates winning moment and this stuff. But calm down. Settle down. As I said, this is golf. This is tennis. This is our beloved sport, which is not Formula One. They're not going around the track at 200 miles an hour. They're sometimes foiling and going fast, as we know, and some people like that, some people don't. But okay, that's what they're doing.
Right.
But the presentation, they're trying to do too much in an hour and a half. Cut back to only 3 fleet races on Saturday, cut back to 2 fleet races in the final on Sunday, 3 races. Then you'd have more time, you have a longer course, you have more time to interview people. That's my suggestion. Yes, the Spanish were just a bit late for the final start. Interview incoming. And Alan Long, of course, the courses were too short. I mean, that 3-leg course. I was in here watching in Studio B late on
Friday.
I don't know if it was our Friday night or Saturday night, but I was dead tired. I must have been Friday night because I was dead tired from doing the show. And I said, and I was chatting in the super chat with everybody. I said, look, I got to go to bed, so I'll watch this last race. Or maybe it was the second. There was going to be one more race. So they were about to start race 3, and I went in, I think I brushed my teeth here, went to bed, turned my phone on, and the race was over. It was less than 5 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I said, something is wrong here.
Yeah, I know. I did that too.
It was that quick. Okay, so bravo Zulu to the Americans. And Dylan Fletcher and his team also sailed very, very well, Julia, not just your team, Los Gallos. This is what we missed on the TV, the whole champagne spray, and we also missed an interview, but here it is, post-race interview with Taylor Canfield.
Taylor, congratulations. What does this win mean to you?
It's not just to me, it's to the whole team. How cool. This group's put in such a big effort. I know everyone works hard, and I know I say that we've been working hard too, but it really showed this week how hard we have been working, and even the beginning of the season, we've put together some great results so far, and yeah, we're not done yet. That's for sure. I know there's a lot more to come, which is crazy to think that, coming away with a win here, that we have more in the tank. So that's a good feeling.
The win was incredible, obviously getting off the start line and foiling. And what was sort of like the moment for you that you were like, this is going to win us the race?
There wasn't a moment, no moment out there today. What a crazy racetrack in such variable conditions. Yeah, I think it was just, had to get through that last tack and let the boat start to accelerate, and then the celebration was on. But yeah, again, yeah, a huge effort from the whole team. It's I think it definitely goes unnoticed how hard everyone's working, from the coach booth to the shore team to the every sailor's on board, to the sailors sitting on the chase boat that are there with waters for you after a long day. It's really cool. Everyone's just pushing so hard.
In sport, it's all about so much about hard work, but a lot about belief. I was reflecting on your journey here last time in Sydney was super disappointing with the capsize, and now you come back and won it. Like, how much belief have you had to have in your team throughout this whole journey?
Yeah, I mean, I've never stopped believing. I know Mike Buckley never did either. Yeah, there's always going to be some haters out there, but you just got to keep doing what you know how to do, and that's just continually growing and getting better as individuals and as a team. Yeah, so it's been cool, and again, I'm super proud of how everyone's been just continually taking that next step. So I'm ready for the next one from here.
Now you've moved into third overall. I know you have a lot of belief that you still got progress. Are you a contender for this championship win?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long season. 3 events in now, so we're just going to keep chipping away at it. And yeah, I think just event by event, race by race, and yeah, again, I think that the progress is shown so far, and I'm excited for what's to come.
Awesome, thank you.
So Taylor's a great guy, very gracious in that interview.
It's nice really to be able to cheer for him instead of feel sorry for him.
Yeah, good point. His dad, who's a Fozy, he's been on this show a number of times, also a hell of a nice guy and does a lot of race committee work, even though the dad lives down in
Davis Island, does he?
No, he lives down in the Virgin Islands, but
in the Virgin Islands,
which is where Taylor's from originally. But yeah, here's the color issue. That why is somebody asked? It's the color of money, no Blake. Why is the USA boat green?
Yeah,
it's the patina. It's the oxidized copper that you see on the Statue of Liberty. Verdigris is what Rick Bannerell, a man of letters, and he knows his Latin, I guess. So here's Dogzilla Monster puts it a little more simply. Jeff, it is the same green as the Statue of Liberty.
Yep.
And of course, Taylor now lives in Miami. I think he's married. Didn't he marry the gal who's been his longtime friend? I think it's a Miami Vice thing, Alan Long says. Taylor's been sailing a lot with Laura Grandin, who now they won the J70 Worlds. They won the Tell Me What Else Worlds. And Laura has just in the last 3 weeks has been awarded the Rolex Yachts Woman of the Year for her performance with the help of Taylor, of course. Taylor was also one of the 3 finalists. With
well, that's really good.
Yeah, and he's having a good year, and the team is having a good year. Bravo Zulu to him. Now here is Tom Slingsby. This is one of John Emmett's very, very fine interviews with the sailors, short and sharp. This is 1 minute and 49 seconds long, and I think you will find Tom's comments very interesting.
So sailing's a really odd one. We have Rule 42, which means you can pump for some classes, you never pump for others, and you have board pumping. Can you talk us through 3 pumps a minute and what you think about that?
Yeah, essentially when it gets so light, we can essentially row the boat around the course, and when we put the board down, it creates a thrust, and when you pull it up, it sort of... you still get a gain. Board going up and down, you're getting a gain. So they've limited us to 3 board cycles in a minute, and it's hard to keep track of that because you want to be right on it all the time, but if you go over it, you get a penalty.
Well, in the bad old days of lasers, we will have 3 pumps a wave. But do you think that's about right, or would you like to get rid of it, or unlimited pumping, or any views?
I don't think we should race when the conditions are so light that you have to board pump to get around the course. I don't think it does anything for the product of our sport. I understand we've got spectators who want to see a race, but I think putting out that sort of racing to the world is probably more harmful than exciting for the fans.
I mean, obviously, I only speak for myself, not all spectators, but a race under 5 minutes seems a bit too fast and not very furious.
Yeah, I mean, the Danish in the last race did one manoeuvre. They rounded the reach mark, laid the bottom mark, did one tack up the beat and finished. I mean, I'm not going to blame. We sailed terribly today, and that's on us. So I'm not going to blame the courses for that. We didn't sail well enough, but I don't think that's good racing.
I completely understand, and looking forward to good racing in Rio de Janeiro.
Cheers, thank you.
Now, see what happens when you get somebody who's knowledgeable. When you get Emmett, he knows what he's talking about. He's becoming better and better, I think, as a journalist, but he knows what to ask. He knows the relevant questions. He's watching what's been going on. And then when you get a guy Tom's not bound by the corporate handcuffs. He's not worried about saying all the right things. He's speaking, the truth, at least as he sees it. And I think we all agree with everything he said. I certainly do, with everything he said.
I'm glad he said it.
And Ed Worley's saying, Russell Coots is probably not happy with that interview. Well, but it was that, look at Dolly Davola says, Tom the diplomat. He was diplomatic. And he says, look, that's not why we lost. But this kind of racing is not correct in a nutshell.
Yep.
And I think, Julia, he's spot on. And I think a lot of people agree. So it confirms that the course is too short. They need to take a deep breath. They need to go back, cut down the number of races. My opinion's never humble, but cut down the number of races, have slightly longer races. Everybody slow down, catch your breath, and don't have this high-strung, high-string shouting commentary with all this noise. And it's not just that I'm old. I think a lot of young people are reacting the same way. Stingray likes it, but he's one of the few on our shows, at least, that
likes the really showings.
Really likes it. John says, I have known Tom for decades, as have I. But it's more than that, John. You're good at interviewing people about yacht racing because you are a superb yacht racer. You ask real questions, not fluffy BS. Clayton Embley, I think John Emmett has the ability to deliver the sport in the way that Ken Squire delivered NASCAR, our stock car racing here in the U.S. The layman can understand it while getting the technical aspects. Good point, Clayton Embley. Dogzilla Monster, maybe the show should go from 90 minutes to 2 hours. Well, I think that's a problem, Stingray, Dogzilla Monster, because I don't think they have the time. The TV time would become they're buying the TV time, remember? And the production time, it's just too expensive. Alan Long agrees. The mark of a diplomat, Clark Chapin says, is he wouldn't say sewage if he had a mouthful. Is Tom Slingsby going to get points on his driver's license, his F50 license for that baby? No, I don't think so. I think Russell is, I've been to war with Russell and in the America's Cup, and Russell is exceedingly smart. Russell is going to be looking at all this and evaluating it, and he will make adjustments. And Russell is not intellectually arrogant like some people we know in the sport. Russell's willing to listen, to see what people are saying, to see what people think. If he thinks he's right, he will assert himself more to test you and your conviction. I mean, he'd come into my office and, you got to do this, you got to do that. I said, Russell, no, I don't. We don't want to do that. Here's why. Oh, okay. And then you get up and leave. Or sometimes he'd come and say, we got to do this or that. Why aren't you doing that? And I'd have some half-assed defense of what I was doing. I'm talking about legal stuff or rules stuff or who knows what, PR stuff. And if I couldn't defend myself, he'd say, that's not, I don't want to do that. Let's do this instead and get up and leave. Well, good leadership. And I think Russell, who says the fleet next year will be a split fleet racing, well, maybe if the races are longer and there are fewer of them, you may not have to split the fleet. If that first leg were a bit longer in Perth, you might not have had that problem because the boats would by then be hopefully spread out a bit more. I don't know. We'll see. Russell's not stupid. And it's amazing that Russell and Larry have gotten it. If any of you would have said 6 years ago they'd get to season 6 and have this thing working at all, let alone as well as it is, it's got problems for sure. Small corrections, Alan Long says. But yeah, Russell will do that. I'm confident. Now, another question that we're talking to Gladwell and with Magnus the Magnificent, but Richard Gladwell and Magnus and I and others have been talking about the fate of Pete Burling because he was there. This is with Lisa Darman, and on Sunday, he was in the commentary boat doing on-the-water commentary with Lisa, and he's good. He's insightful and knowledgeable. He's also not very assertive. They had Quentin Delapierre on the boat on Saturday with Lisa. But
that was a good interview.
Yeah, but the point is that the cost of the repair now for 2 different regattas, people are telling me that's $2 million of repair. Are they insured? Do they have insurance to cover those repairs? That is,
no,
Pete Burling and his team, or are they self-insured and have to come up with the money to pay for those repairs? And if they can't, what happens? Are they out? And Russell, because that is apparently a league-owned team. That's not a privately owned team because so far, at least, Pete hasn't been able to get a big sponsor partner owner for the
12.
Kiwi team.
Oh.
So we'll see what happens. Rick Banro says if they do a 90-minute tape delay and edit the show so it makes more sense to the viewers, allow continuity to rule and overhyped voiceover to diminish. Well, they don't even, the problem, Rick, is that the hype and the voiceover is just as breathless and crotonic when they do post-race and post-production stuff. Voicing over.
But it's a way of giving energy to what they say, I think.
Well, they think they are.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're just making it sound cheap and not so cheerful, I think. Let the event breathe, Rick Banro says. He says breath, but I think he means breathe. A little typo there. Well, what's the future of this Sydney event? We talked about it a little bit because Dolly DeVola sent this in, and others of you have picked this up in the news, apparently, where the teams have been located in what is that, Darling Harbor? Where is that, gang, those of you who are locals? Where Sydney will get 8,500 new waterfront homes within 6 years. This is where the teams have been having their so-called technical base for SailGP for, I think, the whole time they've been racing in Sydney. Tell me if I'm wrong. And if that's the case, any number of our Australian foes are suggesting, yes, this could be the death knell for SailGP in Sydney. Any thoughts here from anybody before we move on from that? Thanks, Dolly DeVola, for that insight. A couple comments came in. Yeah, the New South Wales government has just announced building 8,500 dwellings on the site of Sydney's SailGP base. That's from Dolly. And Jody Shields saying, sayonara, Sydney. I don't know.
Well, that's too bad.
Regardless, Walsh Bay, Dolly says. It's Walsh Bay. There's the results so far, the leaderboard for this 6th season, the 2026 season, with the Kiwis still on top the Kiwis definitely not on top. With I'm always thinking Kiwis when I see the word Emirates. Emirates, Great Britain, Dylan is just doing a fabulous job on 28 points. Tom Slingsby still in second with 25. That'll keep Claire happy because she's very fond of Tom. He having been the skipper for them for American Magic in the last Cup. U.S. team now is in the top 3, tied with France. France having had a good first regatta and got some points for that crash. And then, Julia, your team, Los Gallos, in 5th, a point ahead of Artemis. We don't talk much about Artemis. We thought we would be, but so far, Nathan Otteridge and his brand new team, sailing for Sweden, are on a big learning curve, Julia.
Yeah.
Steve Gruber says, I think that's where the 01 Volvo boats also docked. Fritz Mueller down in Miami saying waterfront access for public is a problem worldwide. Well, indeed it is. Clay Embley, if you're selling hype, you're not selling sailing. Harold Cudmore, Buddy Melgus, and Tom Blackaller, and a lot of others, Dennis Conner, Chris Dixon, Paul Kayard, provided entertainment with hype in 87. Well, the press conferences were entertaining because they were saying what they mean and meaning what they say.
Yes.
And that's been generally the case in America's Cup post-race media sessions until the corporate media took over. And now they've got everybody so bound up, you know.
Yep.
They've got them muzzled, handcuffed. Alan Long says it's time for tequila, as they would say in the Northeast. Tequila. Julia, the lowest glycemic alcohol drink there is, even lower than white wine and champagne.
Yes.
That's why you're drinking tequila these days.
Yes, it's even tasty.
You're drinking a half a bottle a night?
I'm trying to get one a week.
Just a drink, you mean?
Yeah.
Tequila on the rocks. Well, when you come down here for dinner, we feed you tequila and soda.
Yeah.
And the first one's always stiff because that quiets you down. We don't have
giving away secrets.
Well, we're watching some sports event on TV. Okay, Bravo's really to the Americans. Taylor, Canfield, nice work. And also to Dylan Fletcher and the Brits. You've got to admire there. And the Spanish consistency, Julia.
Yes.
Okay, it's time. And this next segment, those of you who've got little children in watching this with you may want to send, it's not that bad. You may send the kids to bed or out of the room. If any of you are particularly sensitive to things we don't normally show on this show. Now, this is Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote. It's maybe the best one he's done. And he's got 2 or 3 different videos here for us. And the first one involves some superb Australian sailors that he met up with during Sail GP. These are photos he sent. Of course, nice stuff with the Opera House in the background and Tom Slingsby, of course. And I guess this is, Alistair, you're in the chat, I believe. Is this when the Americans won the event? They're crossing the finish line? Or was that the race they won? Didn't they win a race on day one? And the green smoke, I think, is from their chase boat. That's their team boat, isn't it? So maybe that's some green flare or green smoke or something. Or is that the league providing that when the team won?
I never noticed.
I don't know. I've never noticed it either. Now, Alistair met up with Laura Harding, who is the candidate in the skipper in the FX. And for the Olympics 2028, Gray Morris, who won a silver medal in the last Olympics and is I think the IQ foil world champion in the meantime again. And he is, of course, a candidate for 2028 in the IQ foil, the windsurfer. So Alistair caught up with them for a nice interview here. There, by the way, is Laura on the wire, but also on the helm of their 49er FX. Laura Harding and Annie Wilmot, who is her crew.
That's Annie.
That's Annie Wilmot. Yeah. So I this morning texted in the tequila chat. I said, "Hey, you Aussies, what is Annie Wilmot's relationship to my old friend, longtime friend Bobby Wilmot? That whole family, the Wilmot family, superb sailors. Is she, Annie, his daughter or maybe his niece?" And the gang came back right away, including Dolly DeVola. She is Bobby Wilmot's daughter. Fantastic sailor, Dolly said, and a really lovely young lady. I've known her whole life as Bob Wilmot, and I have been friends since we were kids. Annie and brother Ryan both came through our junior program at the Manly Skiff Club. Both Bobby and Stu Gilbert are forever grateful to you, Tom, for helping them at the Youth Worlds in Portugal, those many years ago. And I won't bore you all with a story, but that, Julia, was, I think I've told it before on the show. Long story short, I was on the jury at the Youth Worlds in Portugal. Mm-hmm. And there was the Commonwealth had a rule, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, I think, Great Britain. They all had a rule that if you showed up at a regatta at a sporting event, this wasn't just for sailing, but across the board for sports teams, and the South Africans were there. This is when apartheid still was holding sway. Mm-hmm. You couldn't participate.
Oh, yeah.
A dumb rule. I mean, incredibly dumb.
It is.
So the Aussies were the only ones that were playing by the rules, and they made the mistake of calling Tony Mooney, who was then the executive, also a friend of mine. He called Tony Mooney back in Australia, and he said, don't sail. If you do, we'll lose our government funding or our tax status, whatever. Mm-hmm. Don't sail. None of the other teams called. And the other teams kept sailing, even though the South Africans were there. But Bobby Wilmot and Stu Gilbert, there were a couple others, said, we can't sail. So they had to pull out of the regatta. Mm-hmm. Now what are they going to do? They're headed to Michigan, is their next stop before they go back to Australia, for the Windsurfer North Americans or Worlds or something.
Yeah.
And I said, you're going to Michigan. Well, why don't you got all this time to kill, keep your same schedule, maybe move your tickets up so you don't have to change the flights and the airlines. Fly to my home yacht club, my home little club in Michigan.
Oh, I remember this story, yeah.
And they've got windsurfers, and several of them at the club are going up to this thing up in Michigan to the windsurfer whatevers. And hang out with my brothers and sisters. I'll ping them, tell them you're coming. They'll put you up. They'll feed you. It'll all be fun. Yeah. Well, it was. It turns out the gang took care of them. And these two guys, and Bobby Wilmot especially, who's a very attractive young guy at the time and probably still is as an older guy, but it cut a wide swath through the Portage Yacht Clubs. All the girls there were in love with him.
Oh, yes.
And more. Or so one hears. And I won't tell you the story about my wife falling in love with him the summer he lived with us in Newport, Rhode Island, and wore a red Speedo, which, Americans didn't do that. The Aussies, I think, invented the Speedo. That's my Bobby Wilmot story and Stu Gilbert. Great kids, great guys. By the way, those two ladies also were sailing on the Australian women's AC team with another Fozy of ours, with Olivia Price.
Oh, yeah.
So these gals are super good sailors, and Gray Morris, as you all know, is a super good sailor. And I love it when Alistair grabs one of these sailors and introduces them to us via his AAA.
Yes.
And here's that interview.
G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. This is Alistair with AAAA. Now, Gray Morris, AAAA. What does it mean?
Alistair's amazing Aussie anecdote.
Close.
What? That was close.
What was it?
Awesome. So close, yes.
Awesome, not amazing.
But anecdote's right?
Anecdote. You were going to say Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, yeah. That's the new one that's coming out, 2027.
Anyway, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. As you know, I love to introduce you to great people. And I've got a couple of great people with me right now. I've got Laura Harding, and Laura Harding is an FX sailor for Australia.
Yep.
Tell us, Laura, a little bit about your background in sailing and what you're aiming to achieve.
I started sailing in Melbourne in a junior class called a minnow. Went through 420s and now FXs, and even got I was part of the America's Cup team for 2024.
Yeah, and what about now?
Now I'm campaigning for the LA 2028 Olympics.
Gray nearly fell in the water there.
No, the sea legs.
Anyway. You're campaigning for the Olympics, yeah?
Yeah.
And how are you shaping up? Who's your partner on the boat, and how are you shaping up?
I sail with Annie Wilmot, the famous Wilmot family from Sydney. And looking pretty good. Excited to see LA this year, and we'll see how we go.
Fantastic. Well, we're right behind you. And we were out watching Sail GP today, and you know what it's like, the pain of falling on and off foils, don't you? From your experience with AC, the AC40?
Yeah, a couple of times falling off the foils. Probably similar to Gray, probably knows that feeling too.
We'll get to that, good on you. And by the way, the cameraman is a dual gold medalist. This is Malcolm Page. No, that might mess it up. But anyway, we're being filmed by a champion. Gray, let's get to you. So what about you?
I'm campaigning in the IQ foil for 2028. Yeah.
and you've got a medal already, right?
I've got a silver medal.
Yeah, we
and
know
so,
that.
Yeah, hunted for greatness. Like the man behind the camera.
Yeah, it was so great being with you there in Marseille.
Yeah.
And when you won the medal, I was the first one to see you when
It
you
was
came
a
up
good
with
time.
a medal, and that was
You
a very,
cheeky bugger.
yeah, that was a very good moment. So
Yeah,
really,
hopefully-
really thrilled. Now, so and how's your campaign going?
Campaign's going good. I had the year after the games last year was quite successful. Had a bit of a hiccup at Worlds, but pretty positive, and yeah, looking forward to getting over to Palma this year. Hoping for a bit of wind, bit of everything, but mainly sunny skies and good times. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Good on you, mate. Now I'm going to break some. This is world breaking. This is big news for the sailing community. Having spoken to you today, we've been watching Sail GP. Tom Slingsby, right? Didn't get to the final today, but he has a succession plan. Well, maybe you have a succession plan for Tom in the Sail GP. Do you want to share that with the viewers?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
This
know.
is first. Hey, come on.
Look, Tom's doing very well, and he's got a long time to go, and it's just quite inspiring watching him. And yeah, I think the GP, I love going around and watching it all because they get to experience a lot of things that I think Laura and I are hunting for, which is medal races. And so yeah, I think it's 12 times a year they get to do a medal race, and so being able to watch it and see how Tom works on a start line all the way to the finish so consistently, once a month now. We only get to do it about 5 times maximum, so yeah, just staying around this environment to try to make ourselves better and yeah, hopefully succeed in our Olympic campaign, and then to furthermore maybe jump on a GP boat in the future and see how that career goes as well.
Good on you, great, but you're avoiding the question.
I don't avoid questions.
Come on. What's your plan? The master plan?
The master plan. So I'm going to be starting a new GP boat fully made out of Lego, and yeah, we're going for environmental safety.
He's still avoiding the question. So
we have
no.
Malcolm Page on the camera. How did you enjoy the GP?
You do that quickly, and then we'll back to us. What are we up to? How many minutes?
4.
Okay, we're going to close out soon. That was fun getting Mel in as well. But come on, you're going to be taken on the Australian Sail GP boat one day.
Oh, geez, if I'm lucky. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people.
Tom's getting on a bit.
Oh, Tom, I think he's had the second child. I think after he has a third, he might just be itching for a bit more home time. So there's a few people. I don't know about that.
Come on, you've changed. From 2032 onwards, you tell me you're the man. You're going to get 2 gold medals under your belt, and then you're going to be Sail GP.
Tom, I'll do anything you want. Just give me a call.
I'll be there. Anyway, this has been fun. Another AAAA.
Alice says Alcohol Anonymous community.
Fantastic catching up with Laura Harding and Gray Morris. Really great to see you guys. And thanks for joining me for this. And good luck. And remember that I and all of the other Australian sailing patrons are 100% behind you as we go on to the Olympics. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, folks. Bye.
How nice.
Yeah.
Of Alistair to do that. And as Dolly DeVola says, 2 fantastic young Aussie sailors, but more importantly, good people. That's a favorite expression of your friend and mine, Malin Burnham.
Yeah.
He would say something, we'd be talking about somebody in the America's Cup down in San Diego, and I'd bring up somebody's name, and he'd say, he's good people, or she's good people. And Malin, if he didn't think they were good people, he wouldn't say that. I said, are they good people? And he said, well, maybe not so much. Thumbs up for alcohol's, Alistair's Alcohol Anonymous anecdote. I don't know, but there's more to come. Alistair also caught up with another Fozy, maybe even a super Fozy, his parents are, Harry Price, and his sister, of course,
he's
Olivia.
growing up.
Yeah, he is. And he's had a couple of health issues, joints, arms, legs. I can't remember what's going on with his. Got to get him a good masseuse, maybe. But that's, of course, Harry Price. And Davy Price, his dad, and Christiane Price, his mom, have been Fozy for a long time. The whole family's been on the show. It's nice to see him. And then there was this. And as Dawn says, Malcolm Page there on the left, he was the one that had that cameo appearance behind the camera. Right. Malcolm Page, who was up here as our Olympic director back, 3, 4, was it 5 years ago now? 4 years ago. and sadly got excused from further participation, but he's now back home in Australia where he is the CEO of Australian Sailing. Alistair there, second from the left, is the immediate past president, as many of you know. Then there is our very own John Emmett, who was down there, and they got together with Jody Shields, who'd taken the train, I believe, down from Wanji, and carried on, perhaps a bit overtrained on this evening.
G'day, Tom, Julie, and all the folks. This is Alistair. Alistair's awesome Aussie antidote. Just saying g'day from a pub in. Jody, what are you doing there, mate? What are you doing? Hey, keep talking.
I thought you two were doing a very bad ventriloquist and dummy.
Oh, he's the dummy. So Alistair, we've got the legend. The legend. Yeah, the one and only. Yeah. John, do you reckon we should fuck him off back to England? I think the passport's expired. I think that's a finger wag here, Joe. Oh, sorry, Julia. Oh, Julia. Testicles. You can't say that.
They got knocked off air for saying this to me.
Okay, we're going to say good night. We're going to say good night from us, and good night from John. Good night from him, Jody. Good night from me. See you guys. Bye soon.
Okay, Julia.
Yeah.
That was mild.
It was.
That was mild, right? No big deal. Do you remember the controversy from the past shows,
yes.
the last 2 or 3 shows? This photo showed up.
Yeah.
And it was that's a Hobie 14, I guess. And on Tuesday, the 17th of Feb, I was sent that slide. I can't remember the context in which we used it, but people were telling me, and I didn't believe it, that is Jody Shields. Mm-hmm. And I said in the lower 30, cracks the top 5 in the huge fleet split for safety at the Hobie World. And I didn't believe for a minute. I did not believe for a minute that was Jody Shields. Mm-hmm. Well, these guys insist that it is, and they sent this video, Julia, as proof.
Video. Go! G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the fuzzy. This is a crazy Alice is awesome Aussie antidote. And I'm here with my mate Jody, and there's a lot of black background noise, you won't hear this. And I need you to know, Tom, that photo of Jody after he caught the fleet, that's his bum. That's his bum crack. And he's about to show it to you, right? That's it.
Oh, it's definitely the same ass.
Yeah. Is that ass? Is that the same ass or not?
It was that ass.
Guaranteed.
It was a Hobie 14 regatta. All the hot shots there, Mick Butler, triple world champion, and I fought to attack that fleet. But that fat ass got me through. The little Hobie came son. And
show the crowd, show the crowd, and all the Hobies, and maybe Tom, Julie, and all the Fuzzy, you'll believe me now when I say that was Jody's crack.
This bloke does not lie at all. That was my crack.
Mate, I took the photo. It was definitely Jody's crack.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, Julia.
I believe.
All in for Sailing Illustrated. My eyes, as Bannerow said, he said when I put that crack shot up, he said, that's really hard to unsee.
Yes.
So I don't know. There's the original shot. There's the comparison. I have no idea, and frankly, I don't care. But still one of the best jokes of the year, the best lines, the best retorts came from Andrew Pindar, who said, I don't have any idea if that's Jody's butt. But on the bright side, I found somewhere to park my bike, my bicycle.
Oh, awful.
Pindar. Okay, that's an AAAA. Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote. The Aussies are fun, aren't they, Mary Longpree? She spends a lot of time in Australia, and Julia, you've spent a lot of time in Australia.
Yeah.
And we appreciate having Alistair's regular reports. What you think of that?
Never not boring.
Okay, I hope you sent the kids off to bed, and if that offended anybody, well, to hell with you. I thought it was fun. The America's Cup, I have a quick report. it's been pretty quiet. They had that flurry of activity just before the Sail GP. It seems like they save up to try to counter program against Sail GP, and they start sending out little videos and this and that, because I think there's real problems in Sail GP. I can't really find out what's going on. Andrew McIrvin, who's close to the Royal Yacht Squadron, whatever he knows, if anything, he won't tell me a darn thing. Claire Harrington, who's, New York's not involved, so she seems to be out of the loop, not telling me anything if she does know anything. John and Margarita Bottini, Margarita Marshall, and John Marshall are pretty knowledgeable. Richard Gladwell is pretty knowledgeable and well-connected. Magnus, of course, knows everything because he's writing all of their press material and so on their website for Grant Dalton and AC-38. And he won't say anything. He wouldn't say anything if he had a mouthful of it. So I don't know what's going on, but it doesn't feel right. This whole, and John, that's irrespective of what's going on with John Sweeney and his court case. I hear from John regularly, he texts me, and he has not filed anything in court. It's now early March. He said he was going to file in March, but I do know that he has been communicating, corresponding with the New York State Attorney General, Julia. And he says he thinks he's getting some uptake from the AG to go investigate this trust, this deed that's called the America's Cup, which falls under New York law. And and Ed Worley's actually met with him. Ed's broken bread with him or had a cup of coffee or something and is learning a few things as well. But there's basically been no AC material since the meeting in Naples, Dogzilla Monster, a.k.a. Stingray, is saying. So it's there's something that doesn't add up. And this ACP thing is a disaster. It's not deed compliant. If somebody does take them to court, they're going to be in trouble. If the Attorney General decides to take it up on his own volition or her own volition, I don't know who the head of the Charities Bureau is, if it's a man or a woman, but nonetheless, these guys have mucked up the America's Cup, as Harry Anderson, our late great Commodore at New York Yacht Club would have said, have mucked it up beyond a fairly well. It is a mucked up fess, as I like to say. And I don't know how they're going to recover from it unless they just start over. Because this ACP thing, they're already fighting within ACP. And Magnus, if you're watching, you know what's going on in that front. They're trying to name a CEO, and they can't seem to name a CEO. And inevitably, they're going to fight because we're talking about lots of money in their attempt, and fighting over the money, in their attempt to try to commercialize the America's Cup, which by its explicit nature in the deed of gift is not a commercial property, cannot be a commercial property. It says the cup remains the property of the defending club, the trustee, not the team. And Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron has given the cup and the ability to create what they think is going to be a money-making deal. Some teams have signed on to it, others have not, and it's a fustercluck of magnificent proportions. The Brits, I don't know if the Brits even have a boat. They keep sending out PR. But I don't know, do they have a boat? Apparently they don't have their old boat from Jim Ratcliffe's or Jim. They've been trying to buy other boats. So far, I understand, not successfully, but they at least have a superb helmsman. They've named Dylan Fletcher as their helm. Watch. AC-38 Cup date. I got one video.
Buzzing to be here, helming for GB1. To be in Naples and to see what it's all about, see the other teams, really lights that fire to push us on for that dream of bringing the America's Cup back for them. The Naples racecourse looks fantastic, really close to shore, and I think a bit of a natural amphitheatre. Slightly flatter water today than we saw in Barcelona, which will be interesting. But yeah, let's see what it's like in summer. Yeah, the last 5 years has been incredible achievements, but ultimately need to finish it off and put the cherry on top with the America's Cup.
And that's the news we get. And it's that kind of a treatment. Dylan was there when they had their little gathering and the PR thing announcing ACP. He was there on behalf and with Ben.
Mm.
But I'm sorry. Ed Worley says, I have heard that Sir Jim still owns the yachts, not Sir Ben. AC-38 and potential American Magic follow-up. One hears that the check is in the mail. What does that mean, Stingray? It sounds foul. I've got no car and it's breaking my heart, but I've got a driver and that's a start. Lance Burke quoting. What's that song from, Lance? Remind us. And it's a mess. To use the line from an old Beatles song, Clark is saying, quote, I don't have a car. Oh, there he is. That's what it's an old Beatles song.
Mm-hmm.
You can drive my car. Is that what that's from?
Maybe.
Baby, you can drive my car. Da, 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 da. I don't know.
Dogzilla Monster says hundreds of people were protesting in Bagnoli today, waving flags that say no America's Cup.
Yeah, I saw his comment, and I'm glad you read it, Julia, because I hear from Italians who say, oh, that's just Italy, and what they're trying to do is squeeze more money out of the central government, and they're all going to protest, and this is the nature of things there, and you make a big fuss to try to get some money for your local organization and to mediate, or to mediate's the wrong word, to mitigate whatever problems that organization thinks they have as a result of the America's Cup construction. But other people are saying there's just no way they're going to build over that, dump site, horrible site.
In the next 6 months.
Well, in the next, maybe the next 6 years. I think they're going to run the stuff all over in the Bay of Naples and not use Bagnoli. But,
yeah.
Okay, so that's the only update I've got from the America's Cup, other than it continues to be, as I said, a fustercluck of magnificent proportions. Julia, what happened on this day in history? Speaking of the Beatles.
Yes.
1971. Here's your first clue.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
John Lennon.
That's right. That's well done. John Lennon, who lived for 40 years before he was assassinated in New York, outside of his apartment in New York. He would be today, do the math.
He'd be 1 year younger than me.
He'd be 86 if he turned.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
You mean he'd be a year older than you? You were born in you were born in 39.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you guys are about the same age. John left the Beatles, Clark Chapin is asking. Well, I don't know. I don't think that's quite right, Clark. As part of the best-selling group in music history, John Lennon wrote or co-wrote many of the band's greatest hits. His rebellious nature gave his writings, interviews, and work a notably acerbic and sardonic wit. Mm-hmm. After the group broke up in 1970. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
56 years ago, Julia. Lennon embarked on a successful solo career with his wife, despised by many, Yoko Ono.
Mm-hmm.
This included the hit 1971 single, Imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Da, 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 da. He was a sailor. He had a boat. He sailed on Long Island Sound with friends. It may be OPB, other people's boat. But he had a boat called Megan J, Jaye, that he sailed in 1980, the year he died, that he sailed from to Bermuda from Newport, Rhode Island. Yeah, the Beatles were only together for 10 short years, Chris Exley's reminding us. So what did happen on this day in history? Have a look.
The Beatles were immensely popular in the middle of the 1960s. The enormous audiences that accompanied them on their globe tour were a testament to their immense fan base's devotion. A comment made by John Lennon at this time, that the band had become more popular than Christianity, would cause a stir on a global scale. During an interview he granted to the Evening Standard in March 1966, Lennon made some predictions about the trajectory of rock music and religion. He supposedly said that Christianity will die out in due time, claiming that it was already in a downward spiral and that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus at that same moment. It was unclear to Lennon whether rock and roll or Christianity would die out first. After becoming disillusioned with Jesus, he panned his disciples, calling them average and claiming they twisted his teachings. When Lennon's remarks reappeared months later, they immediately sparked worldwide indignation, despite having gone ignored at first. The South African government retaliated by outlawing all Beatles music on August 8, 1966.
Okay, so we're still not to what happened on this day in history. 66, the South Africa, we're talking about South Africa, banned the Beatles.
Oh, they did. Okay.
And it wasn't until, well, they banned them on April 10th, 1970. This is a poster from 1970. McCartney issues a press release. That's when they broke up. This was after John Lennon went off about being more popular than Jesus. What a stupid, even if it were true, what a stupid thing to say. So in 1971, the South African Broadcasting Corp lifted the ban. That's what happened on this date. The ban that was instituted in 1966. 5 years the South Africans banned Beatle music because of his cretonic comment about being more popular than Jesus. Talk about freedom of speech under apartheid in South Africa. Ted Ryman wouldn't have allowed that, our Fozy in South Africa. Peter Taylor in New York City says, I saw John Lennon sailing his O'Day Javelin, ooh, that was a crummy boat, in Cold Spring Harbor, New York, USA, from my Sunfish. He and Yoko had a summer house in the area. Dogzilla Monster, who also grew up in South Africa, said he grew up listening to bootlegged 8-track Beatles tapes in South Africa, and he loved Lennon. Yeah, their last concert was here in San Francisco at Candlestick Park, which has since been torn down. This helped promoters convince Paul McCartney to play the last event there before the park was demolished. That was it. Okay, that's what happened this day in history, Julia. 70 or 71? I've already forgotten. Canfield, his big win. Nice thing to celebrate. Okay, quickly, let's talk about what's happening here in the next 3 weeks, because there's some cool events going on this week and one coming up here next week, this weekend, actually. The 2nd through the 7th, we talked about Paul Card at the top of the show, and a couple of you have said that Card not only won the race yesterday, which I knew about, but he's also won the race today. He's never won the Bacardi Cup. The big regatta in Miami. The 99th edition thereof is going on as we speak. Each winter, the sailing world converges on one place, Miami. One of the longest, and Bacardi's been involved all this time. The 99th, it's got to be the longest running sponsorship in our beloved sport, if not all sports. The 99th Bacardi Cup runs March 2 to 7 on Biscayne Bay, marking nearly a century of partnership between Bacardi and the Star Class. Racing unfolds across 6 days. The Star Class is famous for running one race a day over 6 days. They run 6 races, not 7, not 5, 6 races, 1 race a day. Not so bad a format. I mean, a great format. Add in the Bacardi Invitational Area. They've expanded this thing now to beyond just starboats. And nearly 200 boats will stretch across Coral Reef Yacht Club, Biscayne Bay Yacht Club, Shake a Leg Miami, and Coconut Grove Sailing Club, and the U.S. Sailing Center. Biscayne Bay will be brimming with boats across multiple, I think they have 2 or maybe 3, but I believe 2 race circles. There's a nice shot of the starboat racing, I believe, from last year. From the 98th. That is, of course, Mateusz Kuznierowicz from Poland, whose crew is Bruno Parada from Brazil. They have won the Bacardi Cup the last 6 times in a row consecutively. And if Card can wrestle it away from them, that will be a crowning achievement for his year when he was elected. By those of us who get to vote as the Yachtsman, Rolex Yachtsman of the Year here in the U.S.
Right.
He won the Star Worlds, and he is the class president, contributing back brilliantly to our sport. It's one of the few things that probably Magnus and I and Richard Gladwell and Julia Yu, on which we all agree, because Kayard's always been at the top of your list.
Absolutely.
You think very highly of him.
I do.
Teams representing 25 nations have converged for the season's climax. Uruguay, U.S. Virgin Islands, U.S., Turkey, Sweden, Switzerland. I mean, look at all these countries. They got a great turnout again in Miami for the stars and for these other classes that are racing. There's fully 77 stars, plus 41 J70s, 29 VX1s, 26 Melgas 24s, and 18 Snipes. We've got Fozy up and down the list in, well, the star class and otherwise, including Peter Sangmeister, Julia, who is crewing for Augie Diaz.
Really?
The superb and wonderful Augie Diaz.
Yes.
And as we watch Cuba come apart, we'll see what happens. The Bacardi Cup, maybe, I guess it won't move back to Cuba, as President Kennedy would have said. But who knows? That's where it started out, these many years ago. Fantastic stuff. And as Magnus wrote this morning in his Rule 69 blog on Substack, year after year, the sailors and the sailing doesn't disappoint. I challenge you to find any better looking class than the Star in Miami on Biscayne Bay and 15 knots. You can look everywhere. Go to the 5.5 meters on Garda, the 6 meters in Sewanaka, the International Moths at Manly, the Admiral's Cup in Cowes, even the AC-70, he had to throw this in, the AC-75s in 21 knots. And I'll contend that nothing comes near to the Star in Miami. Bravo Zulu, Magnus the Magnificent. Magnus Wheatley wrote that. Great stuff. This is yesterday, the finish of yesterday's race, in a photo by Hannah Lee Knoll, who used to work for Harkin, now I think works for Melgus, or was it the other way around? And there is Kuznierowicz, the Polish gentleman, sailor, superb sailor, coming into the finish on starboard. There is Kayard on port, and Kayard barely got across in yesterday's, what was the first race of the 6-race series, obviously in the star class. Hannah Lee Knoll took that photo. I wonder if it was originally in black and white. It's probably in color, and they've just taken it down to
really
black and
good
white.
photo.
Magnus continued to say in his post today, how much does a win at the Bacardi Cup mean? Well, look at the picture above of Picasso and Nureyev. That's the Poles, he asserts, which is a beautiful, what is that, an allegory or is that a metaphor? Versus the president, meaning Kayard, and Frida, which is the nickname for Frijov Clean, who crews for Paul. Right at the finish of the first race with just inches separating them. Double hiked a la Dennis Conner back in the day. Mateus and Bruno are giving it full beans there on the left. Eking the best from the gust that just hit on the right-hand shift that came seconds too late. Outstanding sailing from the two best sailing teams in the world today, Magnus asserts. Kayard strikes first blood, the greatest advert for our sport.
Yes.
Magnus the Magnificent, writing on his blog, Rule 69 blog on Substack.
I still love his prose.
I know you do. You love him.
Well, I don't know him well enough to love him.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get him over here and you can check him out carefully. Come on, Magnus. Paul Kayard and Frijov Clean, finally, can they win the Bacardi Cup? Well, now they're up 2-0. They're up 2-0. They won today. The races are at 2 o'clock Miami time.
One a day?
One a day. That's the way the Star Class has always done. It's the way the Olympics used to be done. It's the right way to run our sport. So if you break down, you don't have a problem with, you don't have to give multiple throwouts. You go out, you have one good long thrash. It's exciting. It looks good. The sailors are having a physical contest. And Clark Chapin, who's been looking online, says the order of finish for race 2 was the same as race 1. Jeff Ogle says the stash, meaning Kayard, even with no stash, is a badass. He's another one I've been to war with in the America's Cup, both in 95 when he was our helm for Dennis's team, and then when I was his rules guy for the 2000 Cup. For your club, Julia, the St. Fancy.
Right.
I think I'm the only person in the sport who's worked for the 3 C's and the D. Coots, Kayard, Connor, and Dixon. Think about that. And you talk about leadership skills. There's another one, Kayard. That's got, he's not won the Cup. He's not won the America's Cup, but he's a leader of men and women.
Yeah, no question.
As obviously is Russell Coots. Okay. Clark's for first through third. Who was third, Clark, if you put it in? Kayard wins 2 in a row. Mateusz Kuznerowicz, Bruno Prada, 2 seconds in a row. Coach Rogers down at San Diego Yacht Club, thanks for tipping us off to those results today. So that's one event. Now there's another event coming up starting this Friday. And you know what that is? It's that time of the year when the JJ down in Sydney, the World Championship for the Sydney Harbor, the 18-footer skiffs.
Yeah.
And they've had their season championship and their whatever these 2 events are. The Yandu team of John Winning Jr., Fang Warren, and Lewis Brake. Remember we were talking about Lewis the other day in the Eschels class. Formalized their victory in the Aussie 18-footers League Club Championship for 25-26. This was a couple weeks ago with another masterly display in the final race 14, which was sailed in 10 to 15 knots northeast breeze on Sydney Harbor. I think it was the 22 Feb. And this team, the famous car rental company in Germany, Sixt. I used to know Mrs. Sixt in Formula One. The Sixt team, the league's other major season championship, the season point score was won convincingly by the Sixt team of Jakob Marks, I think it is, Alex Marinelli, and Matt Doyle, which finished with a winning margin of 18 points over the next nearest challenger in the fleet. So these teams are all warmed up, and there's 27 of them now from around the world going to race starting Friday. It's a practice race Friday, if I remember well. When the 27-boat fleet lines up for race 1 of the JJ 18-foot skiff world championship presented by the Winning Group on March 7th, one of the leading teams in the regatta will be Vycobi, skippered by Kirk Mitchell and Andrew Stevenson. He's on the sheet, and Daniel Barnett's in the bow. But a smaller Vycobi logo will also appear on a number of other competing teams throughout the fleet. This Vycobi likes this stuff. And, this is good racing. They have great television, and no wonder sponsors flock to the 18-footers. Bravo Zulu to everybody involved. We played that video some weeks ago about the team behind the effort. But the 7th through the 15th is the J.J. Gilton and 18-footer Worlds on Sydney Harbor. There is a Fozy, Peter Shipway on the right. I don't know Pat Langley or James Burry, but they're also involved. And, of course, Dolly DeVola is somewhere on that boat because he's a co-commentator. They will be presenting live television. I've already seen it pop up.
Oh, good.
As an event on my YouTube this morning, and it will air on March 5th here at 7:10 p.m.
Oh, that's good.
Because that's the Friday. That's Thursday night our time.
Yeah.
At 7:10 p.m. It's 2:10 in the afternoon in Sydney on Friday, and that's the practice race. They call it an invitational race or something, but great stuff, great television, and with not only Peter Shipway, but with our super Fozy, Dolly DeVola.
Oh, good.
Hello, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Dolly DeVola here at the 18-footers in Double Bay, Sydney, where preparations are well underway for the 2026 JJ Giltman Championships, starting Friday the 6th, running through to Sunday the 15th. There'll be a reserve day on the Monday and the Friday. Hopefully we won't need those. Conditions are looking promising for Sydney. Maybe a bit of rain, but looks like the wind conditions are going to be great for the championships. So level of competition this year, extremely high. Defending champions Yandu, probably the favourite at this stage, but Herman Winning has come on board as skipper as Tom Needham has been recruited into the Flying Roost Sail GP team. Up at the top of the fleet, Australian champions this year, Henry Larkins in Balmain, sailing exceptionally well, especially in the light to medium big rig conditions, sailing very, very well. Keegan York, second last year in the JJ Giltman in Shaw and Partners. Been struggling a little bit to find pace in his new boat this summer, but they're finally starting to hit their straps, and I'm expecting them to be very competitive. Just over behind me here is Shaw and Partners New Zealand. That's Eli Leifting, who is a IQ foil campaigner from New Zealand. Came out last year in ASCC and was very, very quick, but unfortunately had a few breakages, and that cost him dearly, staying sort of at the front of the fleet towards a podium position. We've got 26 boats from Australia, Great Britain, Germany, Denmark competing. And just over behind me here is the Black Knight from Germany. So Prince Heinrich von Bayen, very quick last year. They've got a brand new boat. They've been out here for a couple of weeks and they are looking very, very quick. So good chance of a podium. We may even see an international winner. Anyway, hopefully you can join us. We'll be going live with Sail Media, myself and Peter Shipway, 14:10 each day from Friday the 6th to Sunday the 15th. That's Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So hopefully you can all join us, and we're looking forward to a great regatta of 18-footer action on Sydney Harbour. Cheers, bye.
How many sailing shows do you get? This is like CNN. This is like the BBC. It's like Fox News. You're getting video reports from around the world, from reporters on the scene showing what the boats look like. And you even get, you get the occasional butt crack, Julia. I mean, you don't get that on CNN.
No. I was thinking that as I was listening to the last couple, actually.
Plus all the expertise in the chat. I'm told here that they're also sailing Vipers. Alan Long says they're also sailing Vipers, and they got 18 or 19 sailing in the Bacardi Cup. So even when the Bacardi information, which I read carefully and came up with those numbers, apparently the Vipers have been added or are part of that regatta as well. So you got all this expertise, including and especially our super Fozy Dolly DeVola. Tom, I failed to mention, again, the 18, just search 18 footers on Facebook or YouTube for the stream. And it's 18 footers TV. Per that slide I showed you a minute ago. Dolly, thank you very much indeed. Fantastic stuff. And here is the schedule. Race dates. Friday is this invitation race, the practice race. And Saturday, Sunday, day off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, day off Friday, concluding Saturday and Sunday next weekend after next. And they have live television at 14:10 at 2:10 p.m. local. A butt crack rhymes with bike rack. Well done, Dolly. It was a great report. And much appreciated, and Alistair Murray agrees. I mean, you get... Julia, it's good fun. Huh?
I think it's junior high.
Junior high humor.
Humor, yeah.
The last leg is here. The famous painting that we use for our last segment, and this is to calm everybody down now. We don't have Stevie Morrison shouting anymore. We're not shouting about Stevie Morrison anymore. Magnus's favorite. He's apparently good friends. I'm sure he's a good guy. I've never met him that I recall. There is another yacht race sponsored by Rolex that is going on called the Rolex China Sea Race. We've been covering this for years, and it starts tomorrow. The 4th of, in fact, it's underway now. It's the 4th of March in Hong Kong. So it's about to start. The anticipation is palpable at the Royal Hong Kong. As crews, we dedicate this to our Fozy, who is still a member of that club, David James.
Yes.
I think he's still a member.
I think he
lived
is,
there for a while.
Yeah.
So it'll be at the Royal Hong Kong as crews prepare to compete in the renowned this happens every other year, 2026 Rolex China Sea Race. Seems like we were covering this only yesterday, but it was 2 years ago. 20 teams will start from Hong Kong's iconic Victoria Harbor, embarking on an epic. We talked about this the other day, about how most of these races are give or take 600 nautical miles. 565 nautical miles, call it 3 days, across the South China Sea to Subic Bay in the Philippines. The U.S. used to have a big base in Subic Bay, Navy base. The race will push their navigation skills, physical stamina, endurance, and teamwork to the ultimate test. Rolex, the event's esteemed, my favorite word, title sponsor since 2008, shares a long-standing partnership with the Royal Hong Kong, one of the world's oldest and most prestigious yacht clubs, to be sure. This relationship forms a cornerstone of Rolex's nearly 70-year association with yachting. So not quite as long as Bacardi, but right up there, Julia.
It's a great club.
A great club indeed. They have a cigar lounge, a cigar bar. And
I wasn't in the cigar bar.
Well, I don't know if they let ladies in there. That's a pretty foul place for ladies to go.
I know.
But they've got impressively good cigars, and that's a great, great club. Yeah. Now, guess who's sailing in this race?
Oh, look who's there.
Olympic gold medalist Zhu Lixia. The Chinese put the family name before the given name. Golden Lily Zhu joins defending champion Happy Go for the Rolex China Sea Race.
Oh, good. That'll give us somebody to cheer for.
And she got a lot of ink. I mean, this is in that Hong Kong website called The Standard, which I've watched before, not for this race. When the 2026 Rolex China Sea Race sets sail from Victoria Harbor on Wednesday, all eyes will be on the star-studded lineup that includes Golden Lily, Lixia Zhu, the first and only Chinese sailor to win an Olympic gold medal.
Yay!
Organized by the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club and recognized by the RORC, the biennial event is regarded as one of Asia's most prestigious offshore sailing races. They had a big presser yesterday, and Lily was the star by all accounts. Speaking at a press conference, Zhu appeared upbeat and why wouldn't she be? Upbeat and expressed her enthusiasm about returning to Hong Kong for the competition. And then they close-up shot of her. I mean, this is all from the Standard. Hong Kong witnessed the beginning of my sailing journey, Zhu said. I started sailing at age 10, and my very first competition was here. She recalled winning the Girls' Championship in Hong Kong in '98, describing the victory as, quote, opening a new chapter, unquote, in her life and cementing her determination to pursue sailing professionally. Transitioning to offshore racing, however, presents new challenges. Zhu said she will serve as tactician and, quote, free man, unquote, moving around the boat wherever needed. Quote, once we leave Victoria Harbor, I'll be the helmsman, taking the wheel about half the time. In other words, when she's not
Good for her.
sleeping, when she's off watch, she added. And Julia, you'd think poorly of me if I didn't have a superb video in the last leg.
I would.
The Rolex China Sea Race is 565 nautical miles long. We start off in the busy harbour here in Hong Kong.
It's quite an intense environment. It's high stress.
Every second and every inch, get a good start and clear air, it counts a lot.
The tension, everybody's on tenterhooks.
It's a long race, but it's also a race who's first to go out of Hong Kong.
Hustle bustle Hong Kong is gone. You're in the middle of nowhere, and you're propelling yourself by the wind. When you're really by yourself, it is not you against nature, it's you with nature. It becomes a little bit philosophical. You realize that we're very, very small.
Well, sailing on this race across the China Sea, you're further offshore than you are in pretty much any other major race. So you are isolated, and you're on your own. This race really just amplifies that love of the sea.
When you do the Rolex China Sea Race, there's an element of addiction to it. It's non-stop around the clock. You're either working to make the boat faster or you're working to make yourself less tired. It's one or the other.
It's the most exciting Rolex China Sea Race that I've ever experienced.
Often when you finish the race, you say, well, that's the last time. 6 months later, you're preparing for the next one again.
Part of the beauty of doing this race is that it's different each time.
You never get bored with going offshore. You never get bored with doing the Rolex China Sea Race.
Nice.
Yes.
Video.
Yes. That's sailboat racing to me.
That is yacht racing.
Yes.
Which is what I still think our sport is, even if you're racing Opties or Sunfish. Those are in the Dutch sense of the word. Yacht.
Yes.
They're small pleasure craft.
Yes.
Small pleasure craft.
Yes.
That race looks perfect for OC86. Dawn wants to go race her big old WinQuest in that boat. She is for sale, especially after the Newport Bermuda race. Dawn, okay, well, come back on the show, Dawn, and tell us what's going on at Oak Cliff this summer. What else you've got planned, and let's talk about everything under the sun. Every time we have Dawn on, we get a lot of interesting information and opinions because she is from Michigan.
Can't be all
she's
bad.
not afraid to say what she means and mean what she says.
She does that very well.
It's amazing. Well, not amazing. She grew up over on the north side of Detroit, and I grew up outstate. So, and she's a lot younger than I am. She's a lot younger than I am. So that's why we never knew each other.
Is she?
Yeah. She got to be 20 years younger than us. She's 50, I think, ish. I don't know. Dawn, why are we talking about you, Dawn? Because you're just a hell of a good, cool person. Julia, we're to the D block and to the final. I think I've only got one today, mostly because I was a little time pressed today. Dawn Riley's, Dawn's headed to Monaco tomorrow, but can do so after I get back working on a training partnership with the yacht club there. Good stuff.
Oh, good.
Dawn Riley. It's a yacht club to Monaco, presumably. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And this came from Claire. I think this defines Claire, describes Claire, and you, Julia, for that matter. You are only helpless while your nail polish is wet. Even then, you could pull a trigger if you had to.
Absolutely.
Huh?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
Tough cookies that you and Claire and some of the other, Lily, no doubt, and some of the other women, Dawn, that are on this show. So you will be Zooming to Black Rock on Sunday. Bannerow is, I think, talking to Dawn about that. Okay, Claire Harrington, not Vice, she's the Commodore of New York Yacht Club, sent that in. And, of course, we always end with Blake Middleton's little meme here, a little cartoon about all the smartest people sail. Not only did John Lennon sail, but, of course, Einstein sailed as well. And my dad, who's my favorite quote, we talked about it in the quotes at the top of the show, sailing isn't for everybody, but it is, Julia.
For anybody.
For anybody. That is absolutely correct, which brings us to the finish line, Julia, where you like to say.
Yes. Don't miss the opportunity to like, follow, and share this program.
Yeah, it helps a lot, and comments are welcome, even in replay. Clark will put in the comments that he's already shared it to his Facebook page.
Really good about that.
And it looks like we're going to get through this show in an hour and 57 minutes, Julia.
Wow.
We're not going to have a copyright hit from Facebook like we did on, that was Crutonic. And then I told you, I think I said during the show, they withdrew the copyright strike.
Yeah.
It was Crutonic because they knocked us off the air on Facebook. And by the way, if that ever happens, if we get knocked off the air on one or the other, on Facebook or YouTube, just go over to the other one. It's one of the reasons why we stream to both platforms. Like, follow, and share, Julia. Thank you. Comments are welcome, even in replay, and we so appreciate your contributions. I'll get her some cough drops. To patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. It helps keep us in equipment. We've upgraded some equipment here, Julia, again in the last few days. Thanks to contributions from Sandy Purdon and Claire Harrington and a few others of you. We are much appreciative. That gets us with thanking you for your support to those who've given us audio, video, and images for today's show, for which we are eternally grateful. Tier de Jong, I'm sorry about the butt crack. I couldn't help. Claire will be at the BR. Yes, she told me that she was going to be at the Black Rock Yacht Club talking about empowering women in sailing, business, and life. Rick will be there. Take some photos, Rick, and send them along. Would you please?
Yeah.
We appreciate that very much. Alistair Murray, we appreciate you. Today's show cracked me up, he said.
Oh, my.
Dawn, Claire, Julia, and all the rest of you, thank you very much. We hope to see you again on Friday, same time, same channel, and we'll do it again live for Sailing Illustrated at 1300 Pacific Standard Time. And that's our last Standard Time show. Next Tuesday, it will be 1300 Daylight Time, and you'll have to figure that out in your time zones, what time, because we stay at 1300. But it'll be Daylight Time.
Mm-hmm.
We will spring forward 1 hour over the weekend. So that's what we're doing. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Is that loud enough? Ciao for now.